I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
This famous speech was brought before Congress by President John F. Kennedy on May 25, 1961. Just 3 years earlier, President Dwight Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act and created NASA. This organization was formed because of the Soviet Union's head start in the international space race, when they cleared the opening hurdle by launching Sputnik, the world's first satellite, into space in 1957. The launch of Sputnik sparked a widespread fear throughout America that this huge technological development had put the Soviet Union on the path to becoming the sole world power, which forced President Eisenhower to realize how important leading the new space age had become. This fear was further intensified when, in 1961, the Russians sent the first man into orbit around the Earth. 1 month later, President Kennedy challenged America to put a man on the moon.
We have a long way to go in the space race. We started late, but this is the new ocean, and I believe the United States must sail on it and be in a position second to none. John F. Kennedy.
Soviet and U.S. leaders knew that being the first country to land on the moon would be an extremely important media event. The world watched each country's progress with great interest. Scientists and government leaders in both countries were under intense pressure to meet the tough deadlines. Through most of the 1960s, NASA implemented the Gemini space program, followed by the Apollo program, in which the United States conducted new research and developed new technologies that would ultimately allow for the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. On July 16, 1969, 8 years after Kennedy's historic speech, the Apollo 11 rocket launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Cocoa, Florida, carrying 3 men.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
The first of the trio was the commander of the mission, Neil Armstrong. Armstrong was an aviator during the Korean War, where he flew 78 combat missions for his country. Prior to the Apollo 11 mission, he had earned a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering and was a civilian test pilot of the X-15 rocket airplane before he became an astronaut in 1962. On July 20th, Commander Neil Armstrong became the first man to set foot on the moon.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Armstrong's famous words, broadcasted worldwide, became one of the most famous and well-known quotes in history. The second astronaut on the mission was the command module pilot, Michael Collins. Before becoming an astronaut, Collins had logged over 5,000 hours of flight time as a flight test pilot at Edwards Air Base in California. After the Apollo 11 mission, he left NASA in 1970 to become the director of the National Air and Space Museum, a branch of the Smithsonian. And lastly, the lunar module pilot, Edward Buzz Aldrin Jr. Similar to Armstrong, Aldrin flew almost 70 combat missions as an aviator during the Korean War. He made a new record for the most extravehicular activity, or the most period of time outside the aircraft in space, of 5.5 hours during the Gemini 12 mission in 1966. Armstrong, along with Aldrin, spent 21 hours on the surface of the moon, with over 2 hours of time spent walking on its dusty surface. Collins remained in the command module, the Columbia, orbiting the moon, anxiously awaiting the safe return of his 2 partners.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you... For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives.
On July 24th, Apollo 11 returned to Earth, the 3 crew members alive and well. During this period, Americans witnessed their nation's command of other countries' respect start to slip over the buildup in Vietnam. Additionally, at the same time as the riots and burnings of many cities in the U.S., the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy caused many Americans to question whether or not they knew what their nation represented anymore. The Apollo 11 landing, coupled with Neil Armstrong's famous words, provided a needed boost to American nationalism and pride.
The United States finished the international space race in first place. The people's fears of the Soviets' technological prowess were finally drowned by the tidal wave of nationalism that the moon landing brought upon America. There was so much negative energy surrounding the nation at the time that the moon landing became a ray of light that cut through the darkness. Neil Armstrong became a symbol to the people of America's accomplishments on the world stage.
The 3 men on the Apollo 11 mission, upon returning to their home planet, participated in parades across the country for over 2 weeks. They were heroes to the people of the nation. The desire of distributing ethics of individual freedom, democratic ideals, and respect for the human character through the Apollo space program inspired Americans to solve problems, improve education, overcome obstacles, and gaze beyond the confines of their existence on Earth. Astronauts such as Neil and Buzz would inspire future college students to reach into the areas of aerospace engineering and astronomic sciences to further their understanding of the universe. Apollo 11, the most famous and important space mission in the history of the country, not only set the first man on the surface of the moon, but it was also the final step in confirming the supremacy of the United States over the Soviet Union in the international space race and proving America's technological advancement in the world.